Welcome back to the Papa Meat channel. How you doing? How you doing? Come on in and sit on down. Today we're talking about amusement parks because spring's right around the corner and it's the perfect time for amusement parks to open back up. The weather's going to be really nice. You get to go on all your favorite rides. But the tragic thing about amusement parks is that death lurks around every corner, which is why I have my God damn it, I forgot my document. Okay, 1 second. Winslow, wake up. Winslow. Come on, buddy, wake up. Winslow, you're having a nightmare. Hey.
Oh, Hunter! Oh, thank God! Oh, you saved me. I was having the worst nightmare.
Okay.
Oh, it was awful.
Yeah, I'm sure it was. So, I'm actually doing a video right now on an amusement park video idea, and you still haven't sent me the information on it.
Oh,
they're waiting for me, so.
I'm sorry, I didn't know what day it was. We can film it down here if you want.
No, I don't. I'm recording it upstairs on my other computer in my room, so.
Oh, okay. I guess I'll just email it to you.
Here, do you need help? You want me to hit your keys or anything? Here, let me
No,
type it out.
no, stop,
So
no,
if I could try to...
stop!
Okay, I'm sorry.
Oh, all right. I don't need you to touch me.
I hate when you shake like that.
Oh, I sent you the email, so get out of here.
All right, thanks, Winslow.
Get out of here.
Okay, I'm sorry. Jesus Christ. Oh, okay, sorry about that. So, from 1990 to 2004, there was an average of 3.7 amusement park deaths annually. How do you get the decimal point there?
It's an average.
It's an average? Is that about little people? Little people and people that have lost limbs? This is down from 4.5 previously, and may have a lot to do with the fact that more stringent laws were put into place. Things were a lot dicey back in the day, and all of us millennial babies and on have actually had a relatively safe amusement park experience. At least so we thought. Despite these deaths occurring in the same place, the deaths are usually related to guests refusing to follow safety protocols, but even still, measures have to be put in place to prevent guests from breaking safety procedures. We're talking about basic fencing, guardrails, time gates, belt buckles, all this kind of stuff really wasn't around totally, which I think we overlook today. It's an annoyance. It's a thing that stops us from having fun. Our monkey brains need to just calm down because we are in peril at all times. Follow the rules is what they say. Oftentimes, it's a guest health issue that causes the problem, as roller coasters are known to cause blood pressure to spike, which can injure or weaken already stressed arteries and valves, resulting in aneurysms, heart attacks, and bleeds. AKA, my fat ass is going up on a roller coaster, I might not be coming back down. Gross negligence on the park's behalf can account for many injuries, whether from fault in structure, design, maintenance, or even operator error. Sometimes, even nature gets in the way. It's a slippery slope in these big amusement parks meant to be fun with machines that propel you at speeds that you would have never gone before. At times, there's going to be human error, but sometimes I think God looks down even and he says, no. You come back to me. And according to the National Safety Council, more than 1,400 ride-related injuries occur every year. And according to the Global Association for Attractions Industry, the IAAPA, 53% of all injuries occur on family/adult rides, while roller coasters only account for 36%, while the rest are children rides. I think that a lot of these places like Disney, they're meant for children, but they're coming for children. The death is coming for those that are young. With the economy failing and parks having to refinance everything, amusement parks are cutting corners left and right to get people in without having to do all the maintenance and stuff. Yeah, they might throw a little paint on something to make it look new, but goddamn if that thing isn't holding on for dear life. And the end result is always whether or not your safety is profitable. One of the more recent events from the Orlando Freefall Drop Tower, which is the world's tallest freestanding drop tower, standing at 400 feet tall. The 14-year-old boy fell from the ride after not having his harness properly secured, and bystanders recorded the incident. The weight limit was 287 pounds, and the child was 6 foot and weighed 383 pounds. The ride operator had only been working for 3 days at the time of the incident, and the forensic analysis teams investigated the ride and found out that someone had tampered with the harness, and thus the safety sensors did not trigger a warning. I'm a big old boy. Going into this video, I feel personally connected to every morbidly obese child and man or woman out there, because my fat ass trying to get onto Disney rides was difficult. If you're a big old boy and you got some cake, rides aren't worth it. You know what you should have done? Eat a churro. Disney churro is pretty good. Or you can go through the Disney Star Wars experience where you can be really fat and no one cares because you're just walking around a little bit. Or the seats are like that of like a buffet bench, so it's perfect for me. But my fat ass trying to squeeze onto Space Mountain? Are you kidding me? For these big old, like for people that were built in the 1960s? Are you kidding me? Yeah, right. To that 14-year-old 6-foot monster of a man, that absolute unit. Godspeed, kid. Godspead. Without further ado, we're gonna get into some of the nation's funnest rides that killed people. So let's get into it. First off, we have Ride of Steel in Darien, New York, Six Flags. I can't remember the last time I went to a Six Flags. I'll tell you, the only thing we had in Kansas City was Worlds of Fun. Not on this list, but there is another little Kansas attraction here. That was horrible. It actually really tore the community up. But we're going to be talking about it here in a bit. Anyways, Ride of Steel in Darien, New York, Six Flags. In 2011, a 29-year-old Army veteran was violently launched out of the ride after he raised his arms to try to hold on to his loose hat. It'd be really funny if his hat said "No fat chicks." No! He was a double amputee and was riding in the front row of the roller coaster. What? What? I thought that if you didn't have legs, you couldn't. There's no way.
That they eventually said, no, we probably shouldn't have done that.
There's got to be something down there. He fell 150 feet, resulting in his death. Because of his lack of legs, it was determined later that he should not have been allowed on the ride since there wasn't anything to secure the lap belt per the safety regulations. I'm laughing and I'm smiling, but it's not because of the no legs thing. I just am a horrible person, and I'm very sorry. The ride was shut down for 2 weeks following the incident. This is not the first time. A lot of these rides that you probably have been on in your life, someone has probably died on it. Like at some given point, maybe someone didn't fling out because they had no legs and they were shot into the air like a goddamn rock from a slingshot. I mean, people have died on a lot of rides and they just shut it down for like a week or two and they're like, okay. Or they'll paint it and rename it or something. It's unbelievable. And the weird thing about that too is like, it's the uncanny thing of like, if you were buying a house and you knew that someone died on it, would you want to buy the house?
How cheap is it?
What kind of person are you? Next up is Disneyland. As a big, thick bitch, I have a lot of complaints about Disneyland, and especially the ride that we're talking about now, the Matterhorn. I rode the Matterhorn 30 or 45 minutes before the park was getting ready to close, and that ended my night. After I went on the Matterhorn, I was done. So Disney, which is supposed to be the happiest place on earth, would you be surprised if since it's been open, 26 people have died there? Which honestly, I thought was gonna be much more. Really, the numbers for how long they've been open, that's probably not that bad of a rate of people and the amount of people that come in, but still 26 people died in there. Come on, Mickey. Come on, let's half that up. 13. It's nice to help me 13. And in 1984, a 48-year-old woman was tossed from her bobsled car and was hit by another bobsled car on a track, immediately decapitating her. If you've ever been on the Matterhorn, I mean, it feels like a fight to survive anyways. And for a woman to be flung once more at this rapid speed and have her head immediately cut off, I wish I would have died a different way. If I was gonna die on the Matterhorn, I feel like, I don't know which way it is. Maybe the giant Yeti animatronic falls on you, or it's like, you know what I mean?
I was gonna say, what if it like ripped you out of the seat and threw you?
Is it a real Sasquatch? Okay, I'm trying to think that I mean, it's a robot, Nick. And upon investigation, it was determined that her seatbelt was not properly fastened, whether it came loose during the ride or if the passenger willingly unbuckled it on its own. I'm pretty sure my seatbelt was not totally fastened, but I think I was so suctioned in from being so fat, nothing could have got me out of that. Remember me even trying to get out of it? Took for a long time. Next up, Action Park, New Jersey, which everybody's heard about this. There was the Johnny Knoxville movie that was made. It's one of those things, it's like from the 70s and 80s where people didn't give it safety regulations and they had a lot of stuff. But we're just gonna hone in on one. In 1982, a man got caught on the Kayak Experience ride, promising a simulation of what it's like to go river rafting. At one point during the ride, his kayak tipped over, and when he got in the water to tip it back over, he stepped on a metal grate that was too close to live wiring that powered the underwater fans causing the waves. He was electrocuted and went into cardiac arrest, dying shortly after. The park claimed the man wasn't electrocuted because he didn't suffer any burns, even though the coroner claimed underwater electrocutions really cause burns. This begs the question because so far we've just talked about people being flung from a ride due to no legs or no seatbelt. So let me ask you this so far. Would you have rather been electrocuted or would you have rather been flung from a deal?
Am I instantly killed from the electrocution?
I would say no, but just to make it fair, as in the idea that you're being flung. So like you have to at least have that mental thing of like, oh my God, right? And then you hit the ground. So you would think that you would at least have to kind of be like, ah! For like a second, and then you die. You would die about the same equal time, 4 seconds. Hey, leave a comment down below, smash that like button, and ring the bell. Be sure to subscribe. And also, would you rather be electrocuted from a live wire under a water ride, or would you rather be flung from a roller coaster? Let me know down below. Which one would you do?
I think to be dramatic, I'd be flung.
You kind of know what it feels like to fly for a little bit. Next up is Hagrid's Magical Creature Motorbike Adventure in Universal Orlando. First off, redo the fucking name. Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure? Why not just Hagrid's Motorbike Adventure? Why magical creatures? We get it. We're in Harry Potter world. This happened in 2019, and the cause of death results from bees. Not the bees! For over a month from September into October, Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure was plagued by a nest of honeybees. Since in Florida, honeybees are an endangered species, they could do little to remove it. Despite paying to have them removed, the bees continued to return. The ride had to be closed for several days, and despite relocating, had to be closed again.
I don't think anyone dies here.
What? Okay, well, part of my research here, which I'm going to slap the out of my computer, Winslow, because no one dies here. Winslow, nobody died! People just got stung. Well, what if somebody was allergic and they got stung? That'd probably be reported, though.
That's what I was hoping for.
You were hoping for that.
I was hoping someone went to anaphylactic shock. And lived, of course.
You're horrible. You're a horrible, horrible man. Next up, Holiday Land in Santa Claus, Indiana. Which, what a terrible name, dude. Every month that it is in December, you must, what a f***ing embarrassing name. What's the local team? Are they the Santa Claus? The Jolly Red Men?
The reindeers.
Are they actually the reindeers? Probably, you're probably right. In Holiday Land, we're talking about the ride, The Raven, which is an enormous swaying wooden roller coaster. The Raven was designed by Custom Coasters International in 1995, and the company, as is, no longer exists as of 2002. That feels suspicious. If this thing happened in 2003 and the company went out of business in 2002, what did they do to this ride to cause this event? A year before the incident, voted #1 roller coaster in 2001, its path was designed to mimic the flight pattern of a raven, and it's themed around Edgar Allan Poe's poem, which everyone's heard that stupid ass poem, Quoth the Raven, nevermore. The first death on the ride, a guy named Tamar, was sitting in the last car on the coaster and was seen standing as the ride progressed. The Raven, as it is a wooden constructed coaster with nails sticking out of every which way and sagging boards as far as the eye can see. When the car returned, Tamar, the victim, was no longer in her seat and the seatbelt had been unbuckled. This ride has no loops or extreme curves. It does, however, feature an 80-foot drop that gives the sensation of being likely to be thrown from the train. According to her fiance, something was very wrong with the ride and she panicked. Why would you panic? So your first thing to do is while the ride is going, you unbuckle your seatbelt? I'm free! At the 5th and final drop, she was thrown from her seat. Spokespersons for the park cited that the ride was functioning as intended. And the Indiana Fire Marshal declared there to be nothing wrong with the ride, mechanical or otherwise. All restraints were functioning properly. Well, I mean, come on, yeah, no shit. You like freaked out and took, I mean, listen, I have panic attacks too where I'm like, and I get up and I have to go, but I would feel like at that point, you close your eyes, you just breathe, you do like the, because, I mean, how long would the ride be? A minute? I mean, 2 minutes max? 2 minutes max?
Some people panic, dude.
I fucking panic too. I'm sympathetic, but at the same time, I'm just like, really, dude? Especially you've gone through 4 drops and you can't just do the last one. In 2005, the family sued the park and the manufacturer of the train of the coaster, the actual train carts. They settled for an undisclosed amount out of court. Conversations with workers and interviews with Ecotaste, the executive committee of the American Coaster Enthusiasts. Who the actually made that?
Coaster enthusiast, man.
What I'm saying is, like, it's not even a business. It's just them being like, oh, I love coasters. Love them. I love coasters. Well, they say that the lap bar had been broken for some time and was being rigged together with an old lanyard. Despite the public claim that Tamar had been standing up, the official announcement was that Tamar had done nothing to risk her life, but later on, the statement changed, accusing her of being careless. Tamar, who weighed under 100 pounds at the time, may have been too small for the bar to work effectively. Couple things after that. That's very sad. Gain some weight. Only let the fatties go on the roller coasters is what I gotta say. Who's at fault here?
I think Tamar.
You think Tamar had a panic attack? I think the fucking Raven didn't do its job, dude. Especially it was held with a lanyard. What the fuck? Anyways, Voyage coasters, June of 2003. The Voyage, a metal-structured coaster with wooden tracks, voted 2013 top wooden roller coaster in the nation. Oh, it's a wooden roller coaster. There's one in Kansas City at Worlds of Fun called the Timberwolf. I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. Whiplash. I mean, I think that people have gotten legitimate whiplash on that ride.
Oh, yeah, she's rough.
It's a 1.2 mile long track with 90-degree banking and hard turns with over 24 seconds total of weightless fall time. It opened in 2006, developed by the Gravity Group. God, get over yourself. The fucking roller coaster company. What do you want to call it? The Gravity Group. The remaining front of the custom coasters that designed the Raven, themed after the Mayflower. As the structure began to sag and the ride became too rough for most passengers, so they got new train cars to soften the experience. This resulted in the cars being traded between coasters and cars tested, but eventually never kept. And in June of 2021, a passenger was found unconscious after the ride. Coroner declares that cause of death to be internal bleeding from tear in the thoracic artery. Dawn, who was from Ohio, was perfectly fine when she mounted the ride. Extreme drops and jarring banks of the ride were said to have caused the tear in artery and resulting to the drops to allow her to bleed internally. Holy, yeah, just like going left and right and all of a sudden you tear a literal artery in your body just from violent movements. As with the Raven event, all inspections performed and no safety violations or flaws in the procedure or structure were found. I just don't believe it. If they're comparing it to the Raven, where the f*** is Ecotace?
They found no foul play.
They found no foul play. I think Big Coasters is keeping us out, dude. I want to talk to the guy who drinks his whiskey glass in the towers of these amusement parks, and he devises these plans to shut the families up. Next up, we have the one that, oh baby, this is in my neck of the woods. Schlitterbahn in Kansas City, Kansas. And this was on a thing called the Verrückt Water Slide. Let me tell you something. This is just me talking to you because I know this one very personally. The only other water park we had in Kansas City was connected to Worlds of Fun, the amusement park I said, and it was called Oceans of Fun. This is a legitimate memory I have. You have like one of the lazy rivers of all time, and everybody likes a nice lazy river. I was swimming through there. I got a Band-Aid stuck in my mouth like this. And a legitimate Dippin' Dots cart fell into the lazy river, and they took it out and they just dried off the packaging and still sold the Dippin' Dots. I saw that with my eyes. And I remember I legitimately had to get an AIDS test because of the Band-Aid. That's not even joking, because there was blood on the Band-Aids. I didn't have AIDS. I don't have AIDS. I don't have HIV. I'm saying it like I do, and I don't have it. Schlitterbahn, when it opened up, it was supposed to be this big thing because it was new. You know, everyone's like, fuck Oceans of Fun, we're going to Schlitterbahn! But it all came crashing down with the Verrückt Water Slide. And the water slide, the Verrückt, which is German for insane, it was the world's tallest water slide in 2014. The 168-foot structure meant to open in 2013, and it didn't open until the next year due to the rafts becoming airborne. Tests with sandbags resulted in flying inflatable rafts loaded with sand hitting speeds of 70 miles per hour. And I don't know if I can find footage of this, but they showed that on the news. And let me tell you, people were like, maybe Oceans of Fun isn't that bad. In the grand scheme of it all, I wouldn't mind just going hitting the wave pool at Oceans of Fun. It was horrifying. When they say it became airbound, that they were flying. Big sandbags. I remember there was even dummies at one point flying through the air at 70 miles an hour, okay? It was open with the addition of netting stretched over an arc of metal bands made along the areas where riders were most likely to become airborne. So this is what they decided to do. So because people at a certain point kept going airborne on the slide, they covered the entire thing in a metal mesh. So then it's like, okay, well they'll just hit the metal and then they'll go back down the slide. That was a legitimate thing that happened. Before we get into the death here, this was never opened publicly, I don't think, because if I remember correctly, this guy, when this happened, it was like they were getting ready to open, and this was all the special people in Kansas City got to come and test out the park or go there early, like investors and all that stuff. In 2016, the tragic death of a 10-year-old named Caleb, which he was the son of a Kansas legislator, shut the ride down for good. Caleb, riding at the front of the raft with 3 passengers, became airborne at one of the dangerous drops. Hitting the safety net was reported to have done great damage to his neck. It was later revealed that the impact was so severe that he was decapitated. Once again, that became something too. And that was something fucking insane. I used to know a girl when I was in high school working and stuff, and she said that she was one of the people that saw that.
Oh, she saw it?
She saw it in person. She was one of the people, like, his head rolled down the slide, and it was, like, in the pool of bloody water, and she was, like, around the area. I don't know if she was in the water. I don't want to go out that far. This is also all speculation from almost 10 years ago, so give my memory some rest here. It was later revealed that the ride had not been adequately designed or inspected. There were no restraints other than some Velcro or no curve to the half pipe that would have prevented the ride from going airborne. At the height and speed of the ride, it was recommended that a shoulder restraint be installed. A shoulder restraint. I'm guessing that, does that mean tuck it in? Oh, you mean like go like that? I don't like that. That's a claustrophobic nightmare. It is. That's like some Hellraiser. You're stuck in a tube and there's like metal netting. Your soul, you're going to die. Oh, just like flying down this deal. Later on, due to this extreme negligence, the owner and operator of the park were severally indicted and charged with involuntary manslaughter, aggravated battery, aggravated child endangerment, and negligence and interference with law enforcement. I don't think the Kansas legislature was too happy about that, I'm gonna guess. The ride was demolished and the laws in place that allowed for theme parks to self-regulate and self-inspect was repealed and replaced with new legislature with more strict rules. During the investigation, it was eventually discovered that Caleb and his passengers were not the only ones hurt. Over 13 others over the course of the ride's lifetime were hurt and never appropriately documented. And the two designers of the ride were indicted on charges that they were not qualified, nor did they follow any protocols in designing and testing the ride. They also performed no basic safety inspection to any quality and attempted to hide evidence from investigators. I think to recoup some of the losses, they had like conventions or something in the parking lot. It was just weird, especially because the slide was so big and you're just like, oh, he got his head cut off on that. And now, especially, I'm finding out that 13 other people were hurt. But anyways, to keep it up, Terminal Velocity, Extreme World, Wisconsin. That's a fucking sick amusement park name. Extreme World? Oh, dude, I would been busting out my britches trying to go to Extreme World every weekend. In 2010, it was a free fall experience offering a 50-mile-per-hour, 100-foot free fall drop. Free fall. A 12-year-old died after a ride operator did not engage safety net before dropping a girl. Riders are treated to a free fall experience by hoisting them 140 feet in the air via a harness. The rider is released from their cable and allowed to fall into a safety net 40 feet off the ground, reaching speeds of 50 miles per hour. Ride operator was distracted and did not raise the safety net and stopped the ride too soon, pulled the lever without looking, only to realize his mistake and try to lift the net. Parents were filming as she fell and hit the ground, and she was taken to the hospital. She had 10 fractures in the spine and pelvis, another in the skull, brain swelling, liver, spleen, and intestines were lacerated. Heart stopped multiple times and was revived via CPR. She was near paralyzed and only able to communicate by blinking. She was hospitalized for months but survived and eventually regained ability to walk. No fail-safe mechanism to prevent this injury. Ride operator was determined to be at fault for not paying attention and pled second-degree bodily injury. Park management circumvented police order to preserve the scene for an investigation but did not adhere to this and were caught working on the ride to hide evidence. The ride itself was extremely rusted and the family sued and won for $3.5 million. This little motherfucker went through it, dude. At the same time, I would want more than $3.5 million, if I'm being honest. Just, why not a crisp 10? A crisp 10 for that deal. Especially 10 fractures in spine and pelvis. That just seems like it should be 10 million. $1 million for each fracture. Why not? You know that guy was definitely trying to, like, he was flirting with some bitch or something like that. He's like, yeah, I mean, I get off at 8, Rebecca. Rebecca, are you coming over or not? I'm getting Panda Express on the way home. Are you coming? Oh, the net! And then, it just happened. We have Paramount's Great America Amusement Park in Santa Clara. In 1999, Labor Day accident involving a trespasser who, avoiding all signs placed every 50 feet, jumped 2 fences in order to crawl underneath a low-passing roller coaster to retrieve his wife's beloved baseball cap. Oh my God. What was the team? What was the team? Renato, a 25-year-old, earned a Darwin Award beneath the Top Gun roller coaster when a passenger's leg collided with his head at speeds of 50 miles per hour. Some person just clubbed him with the fucking leg. The unique design of the roller coaster leaves patrons with their legs dangling in the air, giving them more of a weightless, suspensory feeling. The dangling leg of Jessica Medina collided with Renato's head and simultaneously decapitated him and broke her leg in 2 places. Whoa! Her leg decapitated the guy? That bitch was drinking some milk. Sure, it broke her leg in 2 places, but to decapitate a man? Holy shit, that's awesome. While waiting for park security to clear the scene, Medina was not allowed to disembark the ride. With her obviously broken, dangling leg, she was forced to wait suspended for an additional 40 minutes before park personnel came to her aid. Holy, you know her leg had to look mangled too. Medina, as a result, lost her job, almost lost her leg due to infection and swelling, and now bears lifelong guilt, nightmares, and massive scars down her leg as a reminder every day. She is suing both the park and Renato's state. Renato's wife of 2 months was suing the park, seeking over $1 million in damages as the signs were only in English and he may not have been able to read them. In addition, she claimed the fence paneling was loose. If there's a giant roller coaster, maybe don't go under it. I think that's a universal f***ing language. I feel bad for Jessica Medina. It's not your fault, but still, how would you not feel like it's like, I took a person's life, I rode this ride, and my leg was the result of this person's life. It could have been anybody else's leg, but it was hers, and now she fucking is mutilated for something that wasn't even her fault. That is absolutely Next up, we have the Ferris wheel at the Jambalaya Festival in Louisiana. May 2023, riders at the Jambalaya Festival in Louisiana were left terrorized after the Ferris wheel halted. Jolted and metal creaking sounds broke the silence. These portable carnival rides that came through the area are under lax inspections, and the aging mechanism that controlled the tires that spun to control the turning of the wheel by park reports went flat, causing the wheel to spin freely. This was contradicted by patron footage as the entire structure had leaned and the ride was spinning very fast while operators desperately tried to pull people off the ride as they passed. That's not gonna work. Tried to pull people off as they passed. Hold on! Grab my hand! That's how they do it at the Jambalaya Festival. Now, goddammit, I got jalapeno and andouille sausages on my eyes. Come on, grab my hand. Some patrons jumped off the ride in a panic, and a 2-year-old was almost flung from the ride as the structure skipped the rails. There were no safety fasteners and only a bar stopping people off the side. Anytime you see one of those like state fair redneck amusement park things, I never go on those. Those are a recipe for disaster. I'm telling you, these things are absolutely Also, I remember one time I saw this carny at one of these things. I think he got arrested that night, but he was spitting at people when they went by, and it was so fast that you couldn't tell it was him. But he was just sitting there eating sunflower seeds, and he was like hucking loogies at people and just laughing. I think I was like 9, and I was like, I don't think I want to come back here, Mom. Next up, we have the Ghost Train in Sydney, Australia. In 1979, the Ghost Train ride caught fire at the Luna Park, Sydney, killing 7 people. The park was unprepared when the train caught fire due to low staffing and inadequate firefighting equipment, and the fire completely destroyed the train. Originally, the fire was blamed on electrical faults, but arson was also claimed. Ooh. Someone thinks it was intentional, huh? Ironically, the train cars would enter through a door called Hell's Doorway at the start of the ride. That's unfortunate. Most of the time during the ride was spent in the dark. The ride also featured dancing skeletons, an ape monster, and a dragon's head. And the ride also featured a fake fireplace, which, according to witness, is where the actual fire took place. The irony of this ride is haunting. The fire broke out at 10:15 p.m. on the ride, and 35 people were on board. Staff raised the alarm and started to pull people from the ride, and the park's fire hose had a low water pressure and could only cover part of the ride as it sprayed, so it took an hour to get the fire under control. Originally, the staff thought everyone had escaped the fire, but the bodies of 7 people were soon found inside. The bodies revealed a man and his 2 children and 4 students from the Waverly College. That is horrible. The low water pressure thing is pretty insane. There must be like an immediate realization when you turn it on, you're just like, this is not what we had planned. The Euthanasia Coaster. The Euthanasia Coaster is a hypothetical roller coaster that is designed to kill you. Yes, you heard that right. A person made a roller coaster that was designed to be the funnest way to die. Which honestly, when he says it like that, you're like, that rules, actually. That would be sweet. Would I rather be lethal injection? Hell no, dude. The ride plummets down a 1,640-foot near vertical drop before it enters in a series of loops that gets progressively tighter and tighter. The riders would sustain 10 G-forces for a full minute. Everybody looks like those pilots in those like training things where they're like their faces all sunken in. This would cause your blood rush to your arms and legs, which would starve your brain of oxygen. Shortly after falling unconscious, the brain would quickly follow into death. The designer of the ride, Juliano Urbanos, stated the goal of the concept was to take lives with elegance and euphoria. Juliano Urbanos I feel like he is the only roller coaster designer to ever actually tell the truth of like, it's not necessarily about the fun, it's about putting people in a near-death experience, except he was just like, F the near-death, I want to kill you. You almost think he's like in an all-black suit, and he's like, with elegance and euphoria. Ride my ride. What would he call the ride?
The Death Spiral.
Death Spiral works. There's that. I'm trying to think of something like, in Kansas City, the big roller coaster is called the Mamba.
What about the Scrambler?
Scrambler's good. I like the Scramble. The Tasmanian Devil. Because he spins. What about that, dude? Dude, that'd be some sick merch, too. Some of those, like, 90s airbrush Tasmanian devil things. And it's him, and it's like his eyes are all like, and there's like Tweety birds around his head. And last but not least is the human trebuchet in Middlemore Water Park, England. This water park had a trebuchet in the grass where customers could pay roughly $70 US to be launched into the air and land into a safety net. I'm gonna go ahead and assume that that did not happen accurately. Riders soared through the air at 60 miles an hour and traveled a distance of 75 feet. The safety net they were supposed to land on was rather thin and also not very wide. It was about the size of a tennis court. That feels so small. For a human body to be flung that far? What's on the list? I mean, what do I expect? That's not safe. Duh. Many onlookers noted how many riders barely made it onto the net in the last second. In 2000, a middle-aged woman named Stella Young landed in the net, bounced up, and fell through the netting and broke her pelvis. The ride continued on despite this, and 2 years later, a 19-year-old Oxford student, Dino Yankoff, missed the net by a few inches and hit the edge. He broke his legs and his spine upon impact and died later in the hospital. The paramedic that attended to Yankoff said the damage done was, quote-unquote, horrific, and that Yankoff knew that his chances of survival were grim, yelling, "I am going to die!" to Picard, the paramedic. That is horrible. You know, it kind of reminds me of a little bit is whenever that guy, the skiing accident, when he jumps on that ski and he hits his shins on the ski slope, which is like pretty much raw ice, and as he's sliding down, he's like, "My ankles are broken! My ankles are broken!" And the guy's like, "He has broken ankles," and he's like, "I have broken ankles! Ah!
I got broken ankles!
He's coming, Paul!
I bet it was not like that, but the guy actually died, so that's not funny. And we're not going to joke about that. The two men in charge of adjusting the weights for the release of each trebuchet pole were on trial for manslaughter, but are eventually cleared of the charges due to lack of evidence. How was that possible? They were there for the trebuchet, and a man died. How? It's like, well, there's just not enough evidence, is there? I guess we're just going to have to chalk this one up to an oopsie daisy, ain't we? That's fucking England, dude. That's what British people sound like. 50 people had to use the trebuchet that year, leading to Yankoff's death. The catapult was put out of use during the investigation and was not used again. Which also, I just want to say, that is the most British sounding ride ever. A fucking trebuchet. A literal medieval catapult, basically.
We used to throw stones at big buildings with this thing, but instead, let's just do humans. Let's just do humans.
That concludes our video, and I just want to say this. If you're thinking about going into a fun amusement park this spring or summer, maybe think about the ride you're on. Look at the ride. Look at the people standing in the ride. Do you want to be one of those people? Do you want to be one of these statistics? Because now after reading this, I swear to God, I'm like thinking about never going to an amusement park again. Maybe Disney, where it's the Star Wars area, that I can get blue milk, I can get a lightsaber, or I can go to Universal Studios and get a Harry Potter wand. I will say, too, don't spend your money on Universal Studios Hollywood. It sucks. I went to Mario Land in there, and that was ass. It always looks cool whenever people, like, I see people take, you know, social media pictures of it. It looks great. It's not good. It is not good at all. But at least you won't die there. At least we don't hope. What if Bowser came and jumped on someone's head? Or what if Mario jumped on someone's head? Yeah, and just like shattered your spine. Oops, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that. That was horrible. I'm sorry. Thanks, everybody, for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.
We're climbing up.